Hey, YouTube family, welcome to the Kevin Strong Show. And in this video, we got a good one. We're going to talk about, should we privatize Social Security? Is that the answer to save Social Security? There's an article that talked about this that was dated March 13th. We're going to talk about the article. I'm going to give you some pros and cons. And I'm telling you right from the start, this is a good one. And regardless of what they do or don't do with Social Security, I think some adjustments will be made in the future. You have been forewarned, and I'll get into what that means exactly in a few minutes. But without further ado, let's go ahead and slide over here and talk about the article. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so at this time. Hit the like button if you do enjoy this content at the end of the video. Give me credit for that. If you don't enjoy it, please do not click on the like button. I understand. So without further ado, we're going to look at this article that talks about, as Social Security faces an uncertain future, the debt on privatization heats up again. So they're talking about alternative solutions to maybe keep Social Security solvent, to prevent the government from having to maybe potentially reduce benefits or extend the full-time retirement age. All of those things you've been hearing about. This article is going to talk about it, but the 3 bullet points that are specific to this article is that the Trump administration plans to overhaul federal programs, have prompted new focus on Social Security. Some experts say privatization basically could get the average citizen better returns. Third bullet point is, others say that change could interfere with the safety and predictability of benefit payments. So let's go ahead and get into this article. So this guy right here is the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink. And if they do decide to privatize it, I think this particular mega hedge fund, which is the largest in the world, would be tasked with taking over that responsibility. Ironically, this is an advocate for privatization because he probably would benefit from it. So let's dive into the article, shall we? So the CEO of BlackRock says the problem we have now is that we have a plan called Social Security that doesn't grow with the economy. Okay, this is what he was saying in Washington just recently. Social Security does not obviously keep up with inflation, and it hasn't even really been adjusted for inflation. And since we're on that topic, if I type in Social Security adjusted for inflation, see if they even give us a number here. It doesn't. If I had to go ahead and just take a stab at something like that, ladies and gents, the payments would probably be double than what they are right now. Ironically, that's why a lot of the information that goes into the CPI and PPI, some people think that they intentionally suppress that data because a lot of transfer payments, aka the payments that they have to make out, the liability payments that the government is responsible for, ties it to some of those metrics, so it keeps those payments low. Very, very, very ominous. So I digress. So Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. Today's payroll tax contributions generally fund benefits for current retirees and other beneficiaries. Okay, so let's get into it a little bit. Opponents say privatization could interfere with the safety and predictability of Social Security payment benefits. There's a lot of people out there in the private sector that say, give me 2.7 trillion and let me invest that and I can get you a better return. Ironically, George Bush, who was the president of the United States in 2005, brought this up. It was DOA, dead on arrival. And some people, looking back in retrospect, said, had we moved to privatization of Social Security back then, it would have went up 400% if you're factoring in how much the S&P has gone up since 2005. That was one advocate for saying, look at the track record. That's a little bit of a red herring argument because, contrary to popular belief, the how much the S&P 500 has gone up from 2005 to 2025, even though in 2025 is down, is undeniable. But what they don't tell you, and a lot of people don't know, so what I'm about to tell you, give me a like for this. Over 90% of hedge funds, listen to what I'm saying, because you can fact check this. Over 90% of hedge funds are unable to match or beat the return that you get from the S&P 500 on a yearly basis. That's the benchmark. So anybody who's self-managing their portfolio, yours truly, that can get over 8% a year, which is typically historically what the S&P 500 is going to give you, you're doing damn well, because hedge funds, that's their benchmark. And over 90% of them cannot hit that matrix. So here they say right here, they're saying, 2008, the stock market dropped along with people's 401k, yet Social Security never missed a payment. That's true. So that's the counter argument to it, right? They're saying, hey, when we had a big financial crisis in 2008, people were relying on that money. They needed that check every month. What if it was tied to the stock market? How would that have affected those people's payments during that time? What's going to happen, as some people predict, like yours truly, that we're going to be set up for a very, very nasty bear correction starting the latter half of this year that could last, 18 to 24 months. So there's some pros and cons on both sides of this. I am of the camp more so probably of doing it than not doing it. So what are some pros and cons in general when you're talking about whether or not we should convert Social Security to the private sector? The pros, I would say, there's potentially higher returns, obviously, right? If you have a fund manager managing the funds. But as I said earlier, some of the best hedge funds in the world can't consistently get 8% a year. So you have to take that maybe with a grain of salt. Increase personal control. I think maybe privatization could give individuals maybe more control over their retirement savings. Some people would like that, allowing them probably to make better investment decisions and set up their own portfolio based on their risk tolerance. The downside to that is that as people get older, there's a mental issue there that some people may not be able to handle something like that. So I don't know how you would handle that. Tell somebody that's 80 years old or 85 or 90 years old, hey, do you have a 60-40 balance on your asset allocation, grandma? I mean, she probably won't understand that. Increased national savings. Some argue, I think, that shifting to let's say a privatized system probably could increase national savings because individuals will probably feel more responsible for managing their own retirement funds. So that's some of the things that I can think of. I think some of the cons, if I'm trying to present this fair and balanced, is that there's increased risk with individuals. Once again, 2008, right? Or poorly managing it could basically just be a death sentence for their retirement, right? There's also, I think, the potential for exploitation. If you have something like BlackRock handle this, there's going to be exorbitant amount of fees and things like that. Who's going to be the overseer of that? If it's privatized, does it fall under the executive branch, or what branch of government oversees something like that? So the devil's always in the details, which leads me to probably what? Complexity and administrative costs. What is this going to cost? Because these hedge funds are not going to manage Social Security at a fair price. And I also think it could be just an overall disruption to the current system, right? Which is, I was talking about the elderly person being responsible for managing his or her funds. I just think a shift to a privatized system, it could disrupt the current Social Security system and potentially maybe lead to, let's say, some uncertainty and some instability for current and future retirees. So that's how it is on the plus and minus side of everything. Here's something that I want to leave you with because we're doing good on time right now. Because I said at the start of this video, you have been warned. Listen to me. They've been talking about insolvency. Is it going to be 2032? Is it going to be 2033? Is it going to be 2034? Should we privatize it? Should we not? What else are they talking about? In the event that we get to that financial cliff of 2032, 2033, whatever, and we don't have enough money, do you raise payroll taxes? Do you lift the once you make over 160 something $1,000, you don't pay Social Security? Do they lift that? Will that be enough? Who knows? Will they extend the age from 67, move it up to 69 or to 70? Here is the forewarning. Listen to me. You've been warned. Something's going to happen with Social Security between now in 2030. The likelihood, or 2032, 2033, who knows, it probably is sooner. But you're getting the canary in the coal mining signals right now. So don't sit and not be proactive and then wait the next 5 to 6 years when something gets rolled out that affects Social Security and says, I had no clue. This is the warning shot over the proverbial bow. It's just like the person that's going on a 10-mile hike, and you have two people, you have two camps. The first camp steps outside, looks up and says, hey, it's kind of cloudy outside. Maybe I should take some rain gear in the event I get really deep into this hike and I get caught in a rainstorm or thunderstorm. I'm going to carry that extra luggage just in case to prepare, even though I'm pretty sure things may work out, but I don't really know with certainty, so I'm going to err on the side of caution. The other camp is a person that says, well, my back kind of hurts and, I'm sure things will just work out. They won't do that to us. It looks like it's going to rain, but it probably won't rain till tomorrow. And like I said, I got a back problem, so I don't want to carry that extra luggage anyway. You get 5 miles into the hike, it comes pouring down rain, and then you see yourself as a victim. I personally would treat this like a 5-alarm fire, or like you were on the Mary Povich show. Kevin, you are the father. Hell no. That was just a joke. I haven't done a joke in a long time. But I'm just saying, all jokes aside, I think the warning is now. You need to plan for insolvency. You need to plan for the possibility of this thing being cut by 20 to 25%. You need to get more education when it comes to financial literacy and understanding how to move your money, how to grow your money, how to preserve your money, how to make sure your money's growing at or above inflation, because the system is slowly decoupling itself from taking care of the middle class and the lower class. And if you allow yourself to be left behind, that's exactly where you end up, left behind. So if you enjoyed this edition of the Kevin Strong Show, please do me the honor about smashing that like button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so at this time. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Kevin Strong Show. And as always, keep your credit score up and your debt down. This was the Kevin Strong Show, and I'll see you in the next one.